Hello, everyone. My name is Emily Todd, and today I'm going to be talking to you about the Indigenous responses to the White Paper Act of the 1970s. So, our first source is the Statement of the Government of Canada on Indigenous Policy, or the White Paper of 1969. A statement from the Government of Canada with the goal of creating equality for Indigenous people in Canada by eliminating the legal Indian status. So, this is what it was. The goal was to convert reserve lands to private property owned by the band or its members and transfer all responsibility for services to provincial governments. It also proposed to appoint a commissioner to settle all land claims. The government sought a goal of eliminating the Department of Indian Affairs within 5 years of the Act. The Act will eliminate the policies outlined in the 1876 Indian Act and set aside funds for Indigenous economic development. Our second source is from the Indian Association of Alberta Citizens Plus, or the Red Paper of 1970. This was a counter policy from Indigenous perspective that was critiquing the White Paper. The Indian, Indian Association of Alberta was against the White Paper and fought to keep legal Indian status intact. They believed that the government has a legal and moral obligation to uphold the previous treaties, such as the British North America Act of 1867. Treaties should be modified and not eliminated. States that the government is eliminating their culture instead of preserving it. Our third source is from William Whitney in his book Ruffled Feathers in 1971. So, this is a selection from his book, and it states his opinion on the White Paper Act as an Indigenous male. Now, he sees the positives of the White Paper Act, and he believes Indigenous people need to stop blaming white people for their problems and take responsibility in society. He does not agree that Indigenous people have lost anything. He supports abolishing treaties and thinks this will encourage Indigenous people to stop living in the past. He also thinks the White Paper Act is a breakthrough for Indigenous people. Finally, our last source is the National Brotherhood Statement on the Proposal New Indian Policy of 1969. So this was right before the Indian Act came out, and they agreed with the idea of changing the Indian Act of 1876, but did not agree with the policies the white paper proposed. They argued that the government had months to review the act, whereas they had 24 hours. Kind of ridiculous. They request the government uphold existing policies like the British North America Act, believe that the minister never understood their requests, and completely disagree with provincial control over Indigenous land. Okay, so a summary of these sources. These sources show us that there were multiple perspectives on the effect of the White Paper Act. There were many Indigenous people who felt that the Canadian government did not listen to their requests. From the surface, the White Paper Act had equalization of Indigenous people in mind, but there are multiple perspectives of what equalization meant for Indigenous people. This chapter of sources shows us that the Canadian government and Indigenous Canadians have a lot more discussion that needs to happen regarding the status of Indigenous people in Canada. Thank you so much for listening, and I look forward to hearing from you all.